Help the gardeners without losing your head. This is our review of Paint the Roses.
Paint the Roses is a cooperative deduction game where players try and figure out each other's whim cards. And I always like these games because I always like seeing everyone's thought processes.
I love deduction games like this, and this is actually a co-op game that I really enjoyed. We'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play.
The game is played over a series of turns, with each player's turns having several phases.
Each player will have a whim card that will show where they are supposed to plant the shrubs, and there will be easy, medium, and hard whim cards.
For the first phase of their turn, a player will place a shrub tile into the garden.
Then, all players will place clue tokens on the new shrub based on their whim cards.
Players must then deduce what each player's whim card is, and they must guess at least one whim card each turn.
After the players guess, the queen will move around the board, catching up with the gardeners. If the players guessed incorrectly, she'll move double the normal speed.
If the queen ever catches or passes the gardeners, then all the players lose.
If the players are able to fill up the garden before the queen catches up with the gardeners, they win. Before you go chasing that white rabbit, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
All your likes and subscribes really help our channel grow, so thank you.
I'm a big fan of deduction type games. I really like Sudoku and those kind of things. I feel like a lot of deduction games are solo games when you're trying to figure it out, and if you're playing other players, it's who's the first one to figure it out. I like that this is a co-op deduction game. So each player has a card, and then the other players have to figure out what that card is based on the clues that you give. And there are notepads that you can fill out to keep track of notes, but it's really interesting to see based on the clue, you'd think, oh, this is gonna be so difficult. But when you start putting clues there, or if they don't put a clue down and you're like, oh, well, I know that means that it has to be this, this, or this. So I really like the thought process that goes on when you're looking at it and trying to figure out, okay, well, I put this here, I'm trying to tell them what I have, but then based on what other people put down, it might actually be even more beneficial. So I thought it was a really fun concept, and I liked how the co-op game came together.
Overall, the whole production value of this is great. You've got your game trays, you got your cool little meeples with the gardeners, the rabbit, and the queen. And then the little mechanic with the queen too, like the way you keep track of how far she moves is, you just add these little petals to her so that you can kind of keep track. That extra little touch of a deduction game that I really like. And then it's cooperative too, so you know how we're always looking for that great cooperative game. I think this is a really good one. Might even be great.
So the mechanics aren't that difficult. Most of the difficulty lies in figuring out what your other players are trying to tell you based on the shrub that they put down or the clue token that they put on it. Even though you're only trying to figure out, is it red? Is it pink? Is it yellow? Is it purple? Is it heart, clubs, diamond, or spades? That's all you gotta figure out. So on the easy cards, if someone has an easy whim card, all you gotta do is figure out their colors. So you'd have to figure out that their colors are yellow and yellow. Or if you have a medium one, then you can figure out colors or shapes. But if it's a hard card, it could be shapes and colors. Is that shapes and colors?
That's just
no,
colors.
that's just colors.
Here we go.
Shapes and colors. So that's what makes it difficult. So your grid on what you're trying to figure out of what possible outcomes you could have on that whim card increases with each difficulty level.
And so because it's a cooperative game, I think this is very, like, we all can just freely talk and say like, oh, well, he did this and this. So it's also teachable too, so that everyone's kind of on the same page. I mean, the player who placed the tile or the shrub, they can't say anything and they have to try and not give any hints as far as like, oh, this is what I have. There will be times when everyone's talking, right? It's like, oh, I think he has this. Oh, it can't be that because of this. And they're going through it. And the whole time, if you're the player and you're like, you guys, you gotta fight that. If you're the type of person that like wears your heart on your sleeve, then you really gotta fight it because they're like, no, we're all gonna lose. Like, we're gonna get closer to losing because you guys are you're going in a direction I didn't want you to.
An interesting aspect of this game is that you win if you fill up the garden. So there's one strategy of we're all going to take easy or medium cards so that the queen doesn't move too fast and so that you don't score too many points. So what happens are there are marks on the board where the white rabbit goes, and anytime the gardener piece passes the white rabbit, the queen gets another petal and she moves that much faster. So as you score more points, you move around the board faster, causing the queen to move faster. So even if you win, you could still have a lower score. So once you've accomplished it one time, you're like, all right, we filled up the garden, we accomplished it, but our score was only 40. We can do better than that. Then everyone starts doing all hard cards. The queen's got to move, or you're going to get points, and the queen's got to get another petal, and she's got to move faster. So even though you're getting more points, it becomes that much more difficult because the queen's moving faster. So I really like how those things go together. Not only is it hard because it's hard to guess, but it also makes the game harder because if you guess correctly, it's still going to be even harder.
Yeah, that rabbit mechanic really helped out because you got a plan too, right? If you want to take a guess, you're like, hey guys, we know all three of them. Should we guess them all right now? It's like, let's hold off. Because if we do that, we're just going to be right past the white rabbit marker and then the queen's going to get here faster. So one strategy is just, no, let's just do one. Let's get closer to the white rabbit, get new cards, one or two, whatever it is. And then we'll go ahead and like guess so that we move even further ahead or like jump ahead more. That gives us more time where the queen isn't too powerful and like on our tails.
And then once you feel like you've accomplished all of that, you know, oh, I can't do any better with this. There's also the Escape the Castle, which adds different modules for different characters. So you're going to have the White Rabbit module, the Jabberwocky, the Cheshire Cat, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Mad Hatter, and Alice module, which will add other mechanics that you play into the game that then also you have to accomplish that while still accomplishing filling up the garden. So I like that it adds new different ways of playing a game that's already pretty fun and already a good deduction cooperative game. And it just makes it almost not entirely new, but adds new components that can mix it up a little bit for if you're getting tired of it. Oh, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's try one of these.
Yeah, the thought that was put into the modules like really attracted me to it just because of that replayability and just adding something new and fresh.
Overall, it doesn't take that long to play, but the box says 60. That's probably the average player's time if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game like we were. And I think that the age of 11 plus is probably pretty right. There's deduction, but I don't think it's super complicated. I think younger kids can figure it out. They may not be the best, but I think they can figure it out. It's not so hard that it's unplayable by young kids.
I can see if you have a squad or a group of people that you're always playing this game with that you could probably score really high because you know each other and you know like, oh, okay, I know when he plays this, like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what that means. You know, not only replaying the game a lot gets you good at it, but like really playing it with people who you're just so used to playing this type of games could really make it fun, especially with the whole replayability and just adding more of the modules to it. Overall, we did end up getting the deluxe edition, so a lot of great pieces. I really like the modules to expand it and a lot of the replayability. But at the very base level of just the mechanics of the base game, I think it's a great game. So I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Overall, I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's a really enjoyable game that I'd love to play multiple times with the modules, without the modules, different people. I think it's a lot of fun. And that was our review of Paint the Roses.
What'd you think? Have you got what it takes to finish this garden? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you're enjoying our content, please like this video, subscribe to our channel.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
And I'm Kenny, and go party like a board gamer.